Hi, this is Massimo Curatella, and I have today with me my friend, innovation coach Quinten Lockefeer. And today we are going to draw our thinking process together. Good morning, Q.
Good morning, Max.
How are you?
Doing good. Looking forward to this new experiment.
Very good. So, I have a beautiful drawing you prepared for me when we experiment together, maybe a couple of years ago or last year, the idea of having a CREAZEE sprint, meaning applying the double diamond of the design thinking process to having a session together to explore a topic and see what it would come up very spontaneously. So we can even decide to have a topic to address today, or we can diverge as it would happen in the seed exploring session. Then we want to converge and creating something, deciding, selecting what is interesting that is emerging from that. And then the cooking process would be connecting. So what is interesting to put together to form more maybe elaborate thought. And it would be nice to think that we are doing this to share what we created with somebody. And all of that would be time boxed in the best, creative tradition. So we were thinking about doing something like 10 minutes for each part. And what do you remember about that? What was your feeling about this, Q?
I think the feeding part is well covered this time because it will be like an hour video, right?
We are already sharing. That's true. Yes. So
That's
it's
covered.
yeah, it's a
Uh,
little bit recursive because we are doing the process about the process. It's something that I like, but it may make things a little bit more complicated to explain. But uh, let's say we're gonna start. My idea was to focus on this process and try to see, as you were suggesting, this is thanks to you, if we can do that as live sessions, week after week or, once a month to decide to explore one of the, let me show you if you can see my screen, some of the topics emerge from the other podcasts. So this is Georgia, the number 4, we have Antonella. So the first was about the future thinking, and you should see something that should remind you
ah,
what we've been discussing in the
yes.
past. We have
One of my
Antonella.
favorite drawings.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so excited when she brought it up. Then we have Antonella, a human-centered designer working in an NGO, and there's a lot to unpack there. And there was Marco Genovesi and creativity. So I'm kind of already doing that, but offline after the fact. So the new thing is that instead, this is something we did together, Quentin, from the past. We did this live together, me and you, in a private sessions, and it was fun. It was interesting. It was useful. So you convinced me to do it live because I want to see what happens. So, what is your idea of deciding from which point to start? I mean, I could just double click and say the CREAZEE sprint process. This is my suggestion. What would be yours? And
Cool.
then I can start the timing. We want to do, let's say, 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Okay.
Yes, nice. Well, since it's been a while that we did this, for me, what's fun is like a small a rethink of why we cooked up this whole thing and
Yes.
whether it's still valid or not. Are we still experiencing the same need we had before, for which like the CREAZEE sprint was a solution, right?
It's a good question. I like it. So you are extending the point with a question, and that's exactly the approach of the design thinking process. I mean,
Yeah.
we want to validate the idea. So still valid. It's a good question. Yes,
And the
I'd
reason
like.
why I'm asking this, of course, is that this is my pet peeve all the time when talking to business people. It's, are you in love with your solution or are you in love with solving the problem? So
Oh, this is
whenever
so
you get
nice.
hooked on one form of solution, see what problem are you solving and see whether it's still valid, or are there shifting panels in this world.
Well, that's okay. I'm gonna talk aloud so I can make the metacognition, the process explicit. So the best question emerging from this initial discussion is, what problem are we solving? This is the best question. So
Yeah.
let's ignore for a moment the CREAZEE sprint process. Let's talk about the problem. Let me start by saying, you know how much I love this kind of sessions together with you. We've been doing that for 3 years, and it really doesn't matter the problem. The point is that I really love to spend time together with your brilliant mind. And in the end, we always created something which was inspiring, useful, and it remained, it's there. So my
Yeah.
initial need was, I don't want to lose this. And maybe I don't have the time to go through the recording and making annotations as I am doing right now with other people. What if we do that real time? So the problem was, how can we capture in real time the interesting things that are emerging from our conversation?
Yeah. I think getting the essence out of it was one of the main things why we wanted to process it a little bit further. And I also remember connecting this little network of just the two of us beyond ourselves, right? How can we provide little bites that might spark a nice discussion or thoughts or thought processes with other people as well, outside of this little realm, this little private realm?
Well, unconsciously, I must say that I kind of did it because if you look at this project of the CREAZEE podcast, I started an interview with another person, which is a good friend of mine, with the same approach, and I was actually looking for the emerging topics and the questions, and there was an internal connection between how Marco, as an artist and a professional, was creating continuity and creativity, and the fact that I created CREAZEE, habitual creativity, was an initial thought. And then there was the point of using a sort of synesthesia phenomenon where you imagine the story or the image you want to draw, you try to tell a story about it, and this allows you to create continuity, because even if you are in the metro, you can keep on creating. So there's a sort of hierarchy in the ideas and the work I've been doing with CREAZEE and all those things. And this became basically something that I remembered. I didn't have to go back here when I was interviewing other people. And when I interviewed, because I never shared this with you, when I interviewed Antonella, she was talking about the process of interviewing users in a decision-making process. And at a certain point, she said, I wanted to know how she would have conversations with people to elicit feedback. And she said basically she had an interview guide. Okay, and yeah, there you go. And the most important thing for her is not only to cover the questions for the project, but also to be alert for the surprises. And that was
Yeah.
my lightning, my connection. I said, wow, this is Marco. So I jumped back and I said, this is the same thing that Marco does. And I was excited. I was happy. I wanted to call you and say, hey, Q, it's happening. So your intuition and your idea, it's exactly happening. I was able to do that. What is your reaction to that?
Mm. Uh, Great link to what's called jobs to be done interviews. We discussed this in the past, right? Everything if you try to innovate, you're solving problems for your users, and finding those problems is often tough because your view of the world is not necessarily the one that is most useful in finding new problems to solve and finding new innovations. And the surprise element is, yeah, of the utmost importance there. So if you go out and you do interviews or you start observing stuff that's going on with your client, like even if you're a manager of a big firm, visit your stores, visit your call centers, etc. And at the end of the day, you need to answer like two big questions, I think. One is, what did you see, observe, hear, etc., that confirmed the convictions you already had? And the second big question is, what surprised you?
Right.
And that second question is often the seed for finding something new, for finding the shifting panels in the problems you're solving for your users. So
That's
it
really,
it very much aligns with this kind of methodology.
that's fantastic. I want to take note of the fact that time is running out, that I'm making connection with Marco Antonella. I still have to unpack the session we did together. And I remember that with David, it was a little bit of a controversy because he said, Neoteny can be a problem. So going towards all the shiny things and never stopping by reflecting on anything can be a problem. So it was a little bit of misunderstanding, but I really appreciated his other point of view. He said, I don't believe in genius or creativity as the spark of inspiration that comes to you because you're a genius. Creativity is a process, and that's exactly a confirmation of this. You go to talk to people and you find problems to discover. You want to be surprised, but then you want to either confirm or innovate. So I think we are absolutely talking about the entire process from different points of view and with different flavors, which is
Yes,
something that I like.
and that's also something I really like as well. If there's anything I'm going for, it's like a grand unifying theory of everything. So and yeah, anything like which is true in one field, for instance, like innovation or design thinking, that's also true in different fields is stronger, right? It's all about it's everything is about creativity.
I love that. And I
Everything is
want, yeah.
about creation, which links back to and you mentioned genius. What comes to mind is like quotes I really like creativity is just the obscurity of your sources. I don't know, somewhere along
Yes.
those lines. Right? This is something I even once made like a little YouTube video about this. If you're just surrounding yourself with the obvious, with people who have the same ideas as you, who are in the same field, same line of business, same etc., the connections you're going to make are connections that a lot of people will be making. And if you surround yourself with a variety in sources and just follow your gut in that sense, that means that the connections you will make are more out of the ordinary. And everything creativity is just combining stuff. So if that's out of the ordinary, if that's coming from very diverse sources, that's what we usually label creative instead of obvious or convergent. Yes.
So I captured, this is fantastic here. Thank you. I think we kind of came up with version, our own definition of creativity, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of research that I should do about, when you copy from one is stealing, when you copy from a lot is researching. That's something that I
Mm.
want to connect to that. It's the same as from another Japanese book author, very famous, that said, if you read the same books as everybody else, you will never have new ideas. So this is really important as a concept. I wanted to, you said something which is really resonating, that is the translation of knowledge from and to different fields. So I want to go deeper into the meaning of cross-disciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, which is not exactly the same thing. And we have done already the diverging. That was
Yes.
our seed. So
We will continue, by the way, on this part because
yes,
let's take a look at the drawing we made originally.
yes.
We did assign like different pomodoros to each phase, right?
Oh
Because
yeah, you're right.
based on our experience.
It was longer, the seed, and the harvest was
Yeah.
yeah, shorter. So why don't we do another 10 minutes and then we
Yeah.
do a
Cool.
shorter curve? Okay. Yeah, I like it. Let's expand this. No problem.
Love the diamond you made. This can become bigger.
Yeah. I mean, we have space, of course. So,
Creativity, defining creativity is
yeah.
and defining creation. There's a really intriguing fundamental question lurking there. If our Earth was created at some point,
Okay.
it's fun, right? What's like creationism?
Yes.
Should we rethink that as well?
According to science that I believe in, yes.
No, but what if like if you would redefine a lot of people have the sense of creativity being like turning a zero into a one, right?
Okay.
And what we are discussing now is like how much creativity is just 1 + 1.
Oh my, this is brilliant.
Isn't then like the whole if you redefine this, isn't like the whole 0 to 1 theory of
Oh, this
our
is nice.
universe essentially the same as the rest?
I'm not sure about the connection to creationism, but
Uh,
this creative tension, this this creative tension of the verses, it's fantastic.
might turn out to be like a very elaborate brain fart, but it's just something that popped up.
No, this is
But it's
wonderful.
what makes this fun for me is that like Job saying you can only connect the dots backwards.
Yes.
Um, this gives you like a get out of jail card for free for doing almost anything that intrigues you and has your interest, right?
Isn't that exactly what we're doing with CREAZEE?
Yeah.
So you're saying follow and explore your interests. I mean, isn't that the diverging? You should diverge exactly as we are doing right now, because it's only after you have diverged that you can decide if there was something interesting and relevant. You are just validating, my friend. You are validating at least the first stage of this process. We are diverging because we are following and exploring our interest. So
Yes.
that's a resounding yes, absolutely, I would say. We
Yeah.
are doing that.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, the point is I'm very good at diverging. I'm a master, sometimes too much.
Oh,
That's why.
where's sorry, where's the label coming from? No, hey, that if there's Max, if there's one thing I have like a very hard time often with businesses and innovation, it's the diverging nature of our thoughts.
Yes.
It's if there's anything like from a very very young age, we are constantly rewarded for coming up with a solution ASAP, right? If
Yes.
if you if you work for any kind of operation, if there's a problem, if you come up with the solution on the spot, you're rewarded. You get the pat on your back, right? If you come back in like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or even the same day and you say, well, I think this is what we should be doing, you come up with the solution, you are rewarded. So we are constantly rewarded to act with like in a, with directing our thinking like in a convergent sense. We're rewarded to come up with solution ASAP. We rewarded to come up with solutions that worked before and reiterating on those. So that is behavior that is constantly rewarded. So being divergent and coming up with new ideas and going crazy, going broad, and then integrating them into something new is often the key to doing something innovative. But this is so hard. So it intrigues me that you kind of label your divergent thinking as like almost something negative or something wild.
Well, okay, this is fantastic. I wish there could be a bell that I can ring each time I find a connection. And this is absolutely ringing
You
because,
should.
yeah, I will.
You
I will
can
do that.
edit it in.
Okay. Add a connection bell
Yeah.
to ring. Okay. Idea. Cool. Now, isn't that exactly the essence of the problem we are trying to solve? We're educated to come up with immediate unique solutions, immediate and unique solutions. And because we are rewarded for a wrong achievement, that is, you just solved it, good. And then we have short-term thinking and we are short on long-term thinking. Isn't that the
Yeah.
kind of the problem we want to solve here?
Ah, yes. Yes, 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 yes,
Oh,
yes.
and
Yeah.
so what is a
Yeah.
potential solution we might want to try exactly right now?
Yeah.
What are we doing to cure this, you
Yeah.
know, aberrant, if it is a word? It is not. Sorry, Otter. Okay, I will learn better English. There's, out of normal.
You can do it in Italian and have it translate for you.
Yeah.
But
No, it's fine. It's fine.
it's not bad. It's not bad, right? This
No,
also
not
ties into
necessarily.
like the reflex we have. What kind of behavior do you need in which
I.
kind of a situation?
You are right.
These are the like the my another pet peeve, the little sliders. Where's the slider right now, and what do you need? If you're, I had a discussion with a friend of mine yesterday about this subject. If convergent thinking is often like truly useful. If you're and also in our past, if you're on the savannah and if you're being attacked by a tiger, you do not need divergent thinking, right?
Yes.
You need convergent thinking. So there are a lot of situations where the convergent thinking and just fixing it ASAP provides with a ton of value. But in a lot of cases, and especially when there's a lot of change around us, the divergence and then convergence will enable us to come up with new solutions. And new solutions is often what we need. And the question is just the times we're in right now. My conviction is, of course, that if you look at convergent thinking versus divergent thinking, what we need more of is the divergent part. And that is hard because divergent thinking takes time. It's exactly the way we're doing it. We're regularly blocking like a 1 hour in our schedule and having discussions on stuff like that. It's like the feet on the table session that you do, and for which a lot of people don't have the time or don't make the time because there are other things more pressing, more urgent. And linking back to
Okay.
yeah,
I think we have found this nice other creative tension of pros and cons that would of course require more exploration. The connection that I wanted to make with my being not always happy with my natural attitude to diverging is that it can make you waste a lot of time. You can have a lot of diverging, interesting ideas, but if you don't apply them, if you don't realize them, it might be just a waste of time. even if, as you are saying, there's never enough time dedicated to diverging thinking. So I might justify by saying you never know when it can become useful what you are being diverging on.
Yeah,
Uh, but there's the problem of the cost. It requires a lot of time to be, looking at the
yeah,
sky and finding nice shapes in the clouds and say, oh, look at that. This can be useful to inspire me someday. So it's a sort
yeah.
of, there's again
This is your
creative
thing,
tension.
right?
Sorry?
It makes you happy to diverge and to come up with new ideas.
Yes. Um, I'm trying to. What I like of this drawing and this process I'm doing with you and the time boxing is that I am able to focus and to say, well, that was nice, but now I need to converge. So
Yes.
I need to converge on the diverging. So, what can we say about these things we said? And we decided that there's no one only truth. It can be good, it can be bad. It can be good when because we have it can make you happy, and we
Mm.
have too little. We need more diverging. Okay, so this is actually good. I want to know if you agree with that. You said that, so of course you agree. And then there's the
Yeah.
problem of
Not if
yeah.
there's anything I would add, it's right now,
What do you mean?
uh, in this world, right now. There might be
Oh,
different
okay.
circumstances where we don't need it.
Okay. Um,
I don't know. That's a whole different discussion whether we'll ever go back to times of less complexity, of course. There usually is no gradual decline in complexity, right? It's usually a crisis or a breakdown.
okay. And if you had to converge and try to express some clear statement about this process and say, okay, together with Max, we come up with these ideas that are clearly defined. What
Yeah.
can we say in this area here? I invite you to either talk or draw whatever I can write for you. I'm trying to focus on the concept that there are several aspects. There are different
Mm.
perspectives. It's not good or bad. It depends, which is a very wise approach to things. It's a little bit confused and I don't want to fix it, but I am mixing things. But there are good things which I'm just summarizing now. We need more diverging in this word. That's for sure. And
That would be one of my takeaways with like a nice
okay,
drawing of like a little equalizer or slider below it with like a big point in the direction of divergence, divergence and experimentation.
okay, I like it. So we have this takeaway. Um, I want to be instead the bad cop. Um, needs dedicated attitude
Hmm.
and discipline. Seems to be quite a controversy, counterintuitive. I mean, we are diverging. You can just talk, but if you are not systematic, you can lose your time. You're wasting your time. That's exactly
Yes.
what we are not doing here. We are using our time in the best way. We diverged. We are
Yeah.
now converging. And okay,
Makes me think of Ernest Hemingway.
why?
He used to say, write drunk and edit sober.
Oh, oh, okay. That's
This
wonderful.
is
Thank you.
he had his evenings and late nights to write and then his mornings to edit, right? If you have time for both.
Well, that's a nice synthesis. I mean, you jumped to the synthesis. You already cooked. We connected and we explained. I mean, this is absolutely cool. I mean, you are a master chef. You are a master CREAZEE chef.
Balancing act. Balancing act. Hey, going overboard. That might also be a nice theme. The Neoteny you mentioned.
Yes. Yeah. That is. Yeah. Yeah.
What that could be like the overdrive of divergence, right? What's the emotional baggage that neoteny brings you?
Well, adrenaline and is like eating candies. It's like the doom of infinite scrolling.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to fall prey of that. Something that I did to cure that is to have a self reflection. So
Creating a system.
I want to show you what I did. There's the concept of resonance calendar that invented the guy, the ex-medic doing the YouTuber, but even other guys, And they said, collect the things that are resonating with you, but tell why they're resonating. So this changed completely my approach to Neoteny, because each time I find something shiny, useful, I need to stop and say, okay, this is interesting because, so I am reflecting. And sometimes, 9 times out of 10, I realize that it's not really interesting. I can skip this. And at the same time, you don't have too much time wasted into scrolling or clicking. You're actually reflecting and writing, which is much better. But it requires an effort, discipline, because it's so easy to just click, 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 and scroll, scroll, scroll. So a beautiful exercise that I want to cultivate, it's this one. What did you do instead?
Cool. I don't do anything like that on purpose. Just the awareness itself does it for me.
Well, you have a well-developed awareness. I don't. That's why I need to stop and say, okay, Max, now
Meditate.
that's
Meditate
enough.
a lot.
May I say that this kind of game we're playing together, it's exactly thinking aloud and reflecting on what I'm doing. And the most important thing of all is that I have a goal. So
Yeah.
I did number 1, number 2, number 3. I'm almost done with number 3, and then I'm going to number 4, and I'm really satisfied. I mean, that's the difference. I feel a sense of achievement. I did something that shows, and I can reuse it because I can go back 1 year, 2 years, and I see what I did together with you. This is satisfying. If instead I look at the infinite scrolling sessions, what do I have from that? Nothing. That is frustrating. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
What do you want to bring with you in the kitchen? In addition to that, because we're gonna move to, I don't know, maybe conclusion.
Yeah. Just one side thought in relation to this, and I don't know if this is converging or diverging, but the value of the time box.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And the lack of it in our life just like hit me, right? And I think a lot of memento mori kind of books are all about, I don't know, did you that my wife was just reading a couple of weeks back a book called, I don't know, was it 4,000 weeks? I don't know if you ever heard of it. I don't know even if the number is 4,000, but it's like
Yes, yes.
seeing your life as a series of weeks also creates a certain like awareness of some sort of a time box as well, right? This is the value of time boxes, of meeting times, of sprints.
Yes, and again, self-reference. It's exactly what we're doing right here, and I think it works very well. Do you remember the first time we did that together, and we felt quite a pressure to, you know, doing something that was having sense in each session, and we also went as far as doing the sharing, and it was I mean, I think I have it here. Look at this. That's exactly what we did there. Isn't fantastic having the the outcome of that process to be shown here? And we went as far as sharing it.
Yeah.
And there was a sort of back and forth conversation between me and you on Twitter. And neither me or you, we are not very accustomed to publish on Twitter. So it was kind of also a push to share with the world what we were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was nice. Go
Yeah.
with the flow. Look at that.
Being forced to share is fun. The newsletter I write with a friend of mine, I kind of grew to love the deadline of each and every week, knowing you have to finish two little pieces, but you really have to finish them. And it's never perfect. You have to
Yes.
ship, right? And the same goes with books. I don't know whoever wrote like, okay, a book is never finished. You just stop.
Well, that was Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay. Too many great Italian thinkers, right?
I know, and I want to be one of them, and I will never manage to be it. I'm joking, just joking. I'm already happy, Quinten. This has been, if you think about it, it was lighthearted and fun. I remember different sensations where we did that. I felt more pressure, and it was private. It was just between me and you, but I felt like, wow, this is hard. I mean, what shall I say here? I mean, time is passing by. I don't have any smart to say. While today, it was absolutely a joy.
Yeah. What changed?
Us?
In what way? Did we just get a little bit older?
No, I think we did it a lot of times. This is maybe the think about it. If it is, I mean, 2 years, once per week, more than 2 years, it's about 100 times.
Hmm.
We did it 100 times. So,
Practice.
yeah, deliberate, and we were very deliberate.
Yes. Yeah.
That is not an important part of it. Um, I would like to wrap this process up because I want
Hmm.
to reflect freely together with you about this experiment. So, how do you like it?
I love it.
Okay.
It's
Um,
it's a nice balance between going overboard on the divergence versus summarizing. Oh yeah.
yeah, I had the single icons, but it's fine. I just want to.
I do think like if I look at it right now,
Yes.
what we did in the convergence stage is focusing on the tail end of the diverging,
Hmm.
and we might benefit from a little review of the whole thing.
You're right. There was just a bare connection between the very beginning, but why don't we do it now?
Yeah.
Do we have an answer to this? Very valid question. So, is this valid?
Yeah. My conviction is yes. It's just
Ah,
like experimentation. It's like the quote you introduced me to of like growing the network, which I love. Creating something out of exercises that you can share, little
yes.
nuggets, little windows into the thought process that you can share. I love those. And they're useful because, and this is also like whatever you kind of share with the outside world, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's a book, whether it's a series of tweets, whether it's a newsletter. It's what I don't know who called it, like a serendipity vehicle. It's
Yes,
you create something that is out there that just attracts stuff, whether people come back to you or not. But it creates stuff, it triggers stuff. But most of the time it leads to nice interaction, nice conversations, because you are on the dance floor.
absolutely. Let's be. I have so many questions for you. So let's start with being a little bit more critical about ourselves. So, are we just in love with the solution because we're having fun, or are we
Hmm.
actually solving the problem?
Hmm. I think we're iterating on the solving. And we started out with like the little writings on Twitter. We're doing all kinds of stuff in terms of writing. Now you're doing a podcast. You're seeing what fits for you. And like I said last time, the fact that you are able to have a truly meaningful and present conversation while structuring in a visual way, I think that's uniquely you. So tying this together into this kind of a form, I really look forward to seeing whether it also resonates with other people besides myself. My guess is yes. So you're iterating and you're learning. This is also why the publishing part is so important. When it's out on the street, that's when you start getting the feedback. This is where you close the whole loop and where you start learning. And of course, like with anything, if you look at either the drawing we make or the pieces we write or the schematics that you build and the overviews and the connections that you make, it's never done. And the tough part is, and this is one of my innovation profs used to say this a lot, when you put something out there, if you are not at least a little bit ashamed of what you're putting out there,
I'm very ashamed.
you're too late. You've gone too far.
I
So,
am very ashamed of this.
and this is, but becoming comfortable with putting stuff out there that you think is okay-ish, but you're not immediately like truly proud of it when you hit the publish button. That is usually you're usually held off by like an anxiety. So
Yeah,
most of the time, it's already okay and it is adding value. And you will learn so much from doing it again and again and again and again. And the faster you iterate and the more you learn, the more you improve, the more you have fun. One of the quotes he also uses a lot is like if you're playing chess and if you're playing like a grandmaster, if you have two turns, two moves for every single move he does, you're winning, even if you're like a novice, crappy chess player. So your speed of iteration, your speed of learning is so much more important. Same with we discussed the pottery class experiment, right?
yes.
Two pottery classes. One was said, okay, you're being judged for the final result at the end of this semester. You will make a perfect, like your perfect piece, and you will be judged for that. And I said to the other class, okay, this class is going to be judged just by the sheer volume of pots you're going to create. At the end of the semester, we're going to throw everything on a big scale, and this many kilos will be a B, and this many kilos will be an A. And of course, the volume class in the end turned out to make higher quality pieces,
That's
which is
the.
like
Yeah,
truly counterintuitive.
yeah, it is, but it seems like it's not anymore for people like me and you because we know that quantity versus quality is going to win always quantity. That's exactly why I am iterating together with you with these sessions, and we have been doing that for several weeks. Um, so, are we too comfortable about this. Where is the innovation? What shall we do in one of the next sessions to try to be less comfortable and experimenting and innovating? What is your suggestion?
Uh, I think we should alternate feeling comfortable and feeling discomfort, because to be honest, um, when you were first discussing like doing a podcast and creating something like this that would go on the internet for everybody to see, right? That made you feel a little bit uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, a lot, but only initially. Now I'm really fine with it.
Okay, let's for this moment, before we move to discomfort and making our lives harder,
Let's enjoy.
let's revel for a little moment in the fact that you actually grew your comfort zone quite a bit in a very short time.
Yeah,
Well
I
done.
love that. Okay, thanks. I'm gonna stop sharing so now you we can see each other in the face, and I really enjoy having the sessions with you, Quinten. And my question is, do you think this can become a sort of structured practice to be offered to your clients when you are doing coaching for innovation or business or design?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that doing something like this, and of course, use if you want if you want to do coaching or help them with like an innovation strategy or even like a company strategy, most of the time you have like a finite amount of time and you need to get to a certain result. So I do think that certain frameworks are very important for reaching those kind of milestones within a certain amount of time. So
Okay.
there's like tiny bits of divergence and convergence in there, but essentially, I think that what I mostly do with clients is exactly the same, like this, like asking the big questions and going crazy and going overboard and like expanding the possible, and looking at what kind of sliding panels there are in this world outside of what you're already doing, looking at the problem you're solving, whether that has changed, and then looking at what you're currently doing and what you could be doing or should be doing in order to solve your customers better. And of course, that's a wild guess. Every theory, every strategy is a wild guess. And the most important thing is then going out there and start iterating and start learning. So coming back to the question you asked, yeah, I think what we are doing right now is already in a lot of the way I help people, and and it's changing, and it's changing by means of this practice. And this time you did like the mural yourself, structuring it. Sometimes we also did a little bit of co-creation, building on each other's idea in different colors.
Yes.
But there is a skill level involved here if you want to co-create with other people. Being able, for instance, to catch an idea in a few words on a little post-it is a skill in itself.
Yeah. Summarizing, being able to synthesize on the spot, and even being present while hosting the conversation, which might be really difficult, and at the same time trying to control the timing, the time
Yes.
boxing, and making connections and making interesting. It's really that's why I'm having fun.
Your podcast number 100 will be infinitely better than this one. But
Of course,
the question is, will it be as much fun? And this all comes back to how much you enjoy being a relative like beginner at this.
no, you're right, but that's also the point that I don't like thinking that I need to edit the thing and doing some cut and paste. So there are some part that might be slow or less interesting, but in the future, I mean, we can record the 3 hours and then we can extract only the nice parts and
Yeah.
having a product. But I don't think it's exactly what I'm looking for right now. As I was saying, I'm doing this for me initially. Right now, I'm doing for me and the people that I'm inviting, and I I hope that they're having fun as much as I'm having. So that's already enough. I'm already happy.
I'm having fun
Okay.
as well, Max.
Q, so I wanted to wrap it up. I want to first show to people how they can learn more about you. I'm showing your LinkedIn profile, and then I would like you to share a little bit of information about your Q&A and your newsletter that they can reach at kanda.blog with a Q. And so you might want to share a little bit about this experience you're having.
Yes, cool. Yeah, newsletter is also an experiment. Started 2 years ago with another friend of mine, Alfons from Broekhoven. We've known each other since college, and right now we're having like a similar kind of path in life. Stopping like corporate jobs a couple of years back, seeing what else there is to life, in introducing like creative elements in there as well. So we started out doing like a newsletter with no big theme other than everything that resonates with us and that we like. We generally have like a systems thinking kind of way of looking at the world. And if there's anything we want to bring, it's optimism, seeing possibility, bringing a little bit of wisdom, and not a lot of like the crisis of the day. And so what we did is we just started out 2.5 years back by writing little pieces of 250 words, each turning it into like a 5 to 10 minute read every week. And right now we're at episode 103 yesterday. So this kind of experiment turned into something that's comfortable and fun, and at the same time we're iterating. We're bringing in more personal stories, more of our personal thoughts, exposing ourselves a bit more and more over the years, which is a process in itself. So this is fun, and we love writing this just for the sake of writing it for ourselves. Like a lot of people say, we think with our notes, we think by writing, and at the same time, just getting the feedback from people, just whatever resonates, what kind of other resources, other ideas, other perspectives they have, and they share with us. So it's turned into, yeah, one of the better experiments of our lives. So that's the newsletter, writing it weekly. You can probably post the link to that in the
Oh,
show
yeah,
notes.
of course.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
I'm showing.
the other part, I'm not that active on Twitter.
Okay.
I occasionally write some stuff on LinkedIn. These days, it's mostly business related and a lot of AI, because that is one of my big interests. Our relationship to AI, how it will shape the future. Mainly focusing on the fact that we don't know a lot of what's going on. So
Well, that's exactly one of the possible topics we can explore during one on our sessions. So, Q, I think we have it. That was a wonderful session. While you were talking, I was sharing your newsletter page, your LinkedIn profile, and I want to remind people that they can connect with CREAZEE at creazee.com. I am, this is a little bit old. I am updating the page with the previous experiment. Maybe we will talk about the daily writing habit challenge, and then I'm creating a page with the podcast, and you can subscribe to receive the next episode of this experiment at on YouTube. So search for creazing_com, and this was Max and Q together with you having fun. See you next time. Bye bye, Q. Thank you.